This is a very, very difficult passage. There's so much that is crammed in here. I shouldn't have said crammed because it's so beautiful, but it's very dense, it's very compressed. And Achilles is praying to Zeus himself to make sure that Patroklos, who is Achilles' body double, his ritual substitute, he's praying that Patroklos, when he goes out and fights to try to save the Achaeans from what looks like sure disaster, that Patroklos will come back safely while accomplishing his mission. The key word is Therapōn at line 244. That's the way Achilles describes Patroklos. And our first reaction is to translate it as attendant, because we know that a Therapōn is socially less elevated than, let's say, Achilles. If Patroklos is the Therapōn of Achilles, that means in a dining context, Achilles will be superior, Patroklos will be inferior socially. But there's so much more to it. And there's this other ritual dimension which has to do with somebody being ready to eliminate themselves in place of a king or some other model figure. And that other meaning, that deeper meaning, is very much at work here. It's embedded in all the storytelling apparatus of the Iliad, and it's certainly embedded in this very compressed prayer of Achilles, where he's wishing things that will not be granted by the divine apparatus. Or at least not all of the things will be granted. Sure, Patroklos will save the Achaeans from the fire of Hector ultimately, but he will not have a safe return himself. He will not have a nostos, so to speak, from the battle. He will die in place of Achilles. He will be the ritual substitute of Achilles. And there you have that deeper meaning of Therapōn come to fulfillment. Achilles doesn't know it yet, but the master narrator already knows it. He granted, this is Zeus the planner himself. I'm reading from line 254 and following. He, Zeus, granted that Patroklos should rescue the Achaeans from the fire of Hector. Yes, line 252, Zeus granted that, but he refused to let Patroklos come home safely, have a safe nostos.
In an earlier hour, Greg, we were talking about the relationship between gods and humans, and we talked about a verb that's related to the word Therapōn. So I'm just wondering about, in that case, we were talking about connection and humans were seeking closeness.
Yes.
So is this idea of physical closeness going to be important again here when we're thinking about the relationship between Achilles and Patroklos?
Definitely, because in a sense, why is it that Patroklos is fatally attracted to the idea of confronting Apollo? There's something about that drive to come face to face with somebody, if you imagine this as a mirror experience, who looks just like you at a climactic moment of God-hero antagonism. That drive is very, very strong. And that drive, as we saw before, can be seen in an eroticized way too. But here you see more basically that it's just not going to work. This Therapōn will be able to save the Achaeans precisely because he will die himself. And you could say, well, is he dying for all the Achaeans or is he dying for Achilles? You can say both.
I guess what I was wondering about was when Patroklos goes off and dies,
yes,
he's separated from Achilles at that moment,
yes,
right?
Yes. I think that's a very important factor to keep in mind, that as long as Patroklos is together with Achilles, as long as, let's say, he's the driver of the chariot and he's standing on the platform while Achilles is the one who jumps off the platform and does the fighting, he'll be okay. But once he gets to be the one who jumps off the chariot and somebody else is driving, he's not going to be okay. Because it's not that Achilles will be driving the chariot, it's somebody else who is inferior to Patroklos. So the driver is conventionally inferior socially to the rider, and the rider who then jumps off the chariot and does the chariot fighting.